Number 10. Trigger Twins. Northstar Trigger is one of the Trigger Twins who are known as the fastest guns in the West. They are part of the Old West area of the Amalgam universe. Northstar and his sister Aurora come from the Generation Hex Amalgam comic. Northstar himself seems to possess the power to fly, but it's unclear if he has any other powers, besides being a super fast shot, alongside his sister. Though it can be assumed that both Northstar and Aurora likely possess at least some version of their powers here, but still, perhaps just they're dulled down a lot, and obviously not all of their powers they usually have, they will have. Still, being the fastest shot and being able to fly even short distances in the Wild West would still be considered pretty impressive, even if the list just ends there. The Trigger Twins are a combination of the Bobier twins, Aurora Jean-Marie and Northstar Jean-Paul, from Marvel and DC's old Western characters, the Trigger Twins, Thomas and Tad. Number 9. Dare the Terminator. Dare the Terminator is a combination character of Slade Wilson aka Deathstroke from DC and Marvel's Daredevil, Matt Murdock. Although neither character is female, it seems as though there was a sprinkling in of Elektra, at least in terms of the character design here. I don't know if it's just me, but this design does seem to take some inspiration from Elektra. Dare the Terminator is the sworn enemy of Enigma Fisk, a corrupt mayor. Enigma Fisk once captured Dare and had little devil horns surgically grafted onto her head to make her more resemble the nickname given her of Daredevil. Dare is blind, but is also missing an eye, which was shot out by the villain Deadeye. And I know this is the most powerful list, so in case you were wondering what kind of powers we're talking about a lot of skilled fighting and assassin stuff. Because, you know, Daredevil and Deathstroke. And friends, before we move on to our next spot, just a quick reminder, if you want more Amalgam lists like this list, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Bruce Wayne might not possess any powers as this amalgamated version, but when has that ever stopped him from being powerful? On part 1 of this list we talked about Darkclaw, the amalgamated version of Wolverine and Batman. Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., however, is the amalgamated version of Nick Fury and Batman, so in other words, all the contingency plans. Bruce Wayne is inspired to join up with S.H.I.E.L.D. after his parents are killed at the hands of Hydra. He works his way up through the ranks and eventually becomes director, which means he also has all the power of S.H.I.E.L.D. behind him. Though some suspect that Bruce Wayne did not earn this promotion, but instead used his family fortune to buy S.H.I.E.L.D. as he aims to use its resources to get revenge for his parents' death, going after their killer, Green Skull. Number 7. Spider-Boy. Spider-Boy made his first unnamed appearance in Marvel vs. DC issue 3, and his first named appearance in his self-titled comic series Spider-Boy issue number 1. He is the amalgamation of DC's Superboy aka John Kent and Marvel's Spider-Man aka Peter Parker. His name is Peter Ross, and his powers are pretty epic and allow him to manipulate gravity. He can use his powers to move himself around, launching himself towards other objects by manipulating their gravitational pull. And he can also use his powers in a similar way to wall crawl and ceiling crawl, and to increase his overall strength, among other things. Honestly, I feel like if you can manipulate gravity, that's crazy powerful in terms of like physics. Number 6. FIREBIRD. FIREBIRD is the amalgamation of Marvel's Jean Grey, once known as the X-Men's Marvel Girl, and DC's Fire, who can turn her body into a living green flame and emits blasts of fire. FIREBIRD made her first appearance in JLX issue number 1. And in case you didn't know, the JLX is actually a combination of the Justice League and the X-Men put together. FIREBIRD was one of the members of the team and has psychokinetic flame powers. In other words, she is truly an amalgamation of the two characters that were combined to create her. FIREBIRD's name is Beatriz Grey, also a combination of Beatriz da Costa and Jean Grey. Amalgamation all around. Number 5. Emerald Eye. Emerald Eye was a short-lived Amalgam character who appeared during Doctor Strangefate's last stand to try and protect and preserve the Amalgam universe. In fighting the heroes of both Marvel and DC's world as well as Access, he brought together more amalgamations, including an amalgamation seemingly of Marvel's X-Men leader Cyclops and DC's JLA member Green Lantern. Although based on the name of this character, it also seems likely that some influence could come from another Green Lantern based character or weapon really, the disembodied eye of Ekron, known as the Emerald Eye of Ekron, which is a powerful weapon that emits a green plasma beam, and made its first appearance in DC Comics back in 1967 in Adventure Comics issue 352. Number 4. Silver Racer. The Silver Racer is the amalgamation of Marvel's Silver Surfer and DC's Black Racer. He is both the Asgardian avatar of death and also possesses the power cosmic, or rather the ability to manipulate cosmic energy. so basically the power cosmic. Sadly, he would go on to become depowered in the Amalgam universe as Dr. Doomsday stole his power from him. However, at the peak of his power, being a combination of both of these crazy strong characters from the big two, he was still likely one of the most powerful Amalgam characters that we'd seen. Honestly, any Silver Surfer amalgamation is going to be pretty nuts, and then imagine combining him with someone equally OP, if not more OP, like the Black Racer, the Agent of Death from the DC universe. Also, he's got skis, which is really the most powerful. If you're a hero and you have skis, I'm just saying. Number 3. Super Mutant. Super Mutant is the amalgamation of Marvel's mutant time traveler Bishop, Lucas Bishop, and DC's Man of Steel, and once their Man of Tomorrow, Superman, Kal-El, or Clark Kent if you prefer. He was another creation of Dr. Strangefate's brought together in his last moments of desperation. Personally, I think these two together would be insanely OP, because you've got the energy absorption and conversion powers of Bishop, and just the all-around invulnerability, strength, speed, and agility of Superman. That sounds pretty unstoppable to me. Of course, as this character only appeared briefly, we didn't really get to see what he was fully capable of. Sad face. Number 2. Green Phoenix. Green Phoenix is another Amalgam character who was made during the showdown between Dr. Strangefate and Access. She is the amalgamation of DC's Martian Manhunter and Marvel's Jean Grey as Phoenix. We really don't get to see much of her in action, but being that she's a combination of such powerhouse characters, it's definitely heavily implied that the Green Phoenix would kick a lot of butt had she continued to exist. With the powers of the Phoenix, Jean, and Martian Manhunter, I'd imagine in most cases she'd be unstoppable. However, before we could find out just how unstoppable, Dr. Strangefate was defeated and Green Phoenix's counterparts were separated. So, just returning to Martian Manhunter and Jean Grey. And it's because we didn't really get to see that much of her that I have decided, despite Green Phoenix in theory probably being one of the most powerful characters in the Amalgam universe, to hand off our number 1 spot to a character that we do get to see a lot more of in the Amalgam universe. Number 1. Amazon. Amazon is the amalgamation of Storm, Aurora Monroe, and Wonder Woman. She was the first amalgamation character that Dr. Strangefate reformed to defend the Amalgam universe in his fight against the Marvel and DC heroes in the miniseries DC/Marvel All Access. Amazon is probably one of the most powerful characters in the Amalgam universe because she is a combination of such epically powerful women. Despite the fact that Diana also exists in another form in this universe, Amazon is even more powerful than her, as she not only has the training, experience, and powers of an Amazonian warrior, but also is a meta-mutant and possesses her weather control powers as well. So she's just crazy. I'm also really happy I got to put a version of Storm in a top 1 spot. It makes me feel really good. I love Storm so much!
Starting us off in at number 10, Lobo the Duck. Lobo the Duck is strangely enough the combination of Lobo and Donald Duck. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it's Howard the Duck, and was introduced in Lobo the Duck number 1 from 1997 and is present on Earth 9602, but in a timeline where the Amalgam heroes have died. Lobo the Duck is a fearless and strangely muscular, especially for a duck, anti-hero bounty hunter who, along with his shape-shifting canine sidekick Impossible Dog, is investigating the murders of several Amalgam Comics heroes. Lobo only agrees to find the murderers of these heroes if he gets paid up front though, but soon begins the investigation. Lobo fights his way through Gold Kidney Lady, Dr. Bongface, and various other supervillains before he realizes that the end of the world is about to begin and only he can stop it. He has all of Lobo's powers and abilities, including immortality, super strength, and a mastery of basically every weapon. He also has a genius level intellect, a superhuman sense of smell, can track anyone or anything across galaxies, and is a master of quack fu. Yeah, I just wanted an excuse to mention this guy, but honestly immortality makes him pretty damn powerful. And at 9, Ferroman. Ferroman is a combination of Colossus and Ferrolab, and was introduced in X-Patrol number 1, which is clearly a combination of X-Men and Doom Patrol. Peter and his twin Alexei were all each other had, since even their mother couldn't bear to look at their faces. That's not even a face a mother could love. The twins shared everything from the moment they were born, but one day while saving Alexei's life from an oncoming truck, Peter changed into living metal, stopping it, revealing to himself that he was actually a metamutant, but Alexei was unfortunately not. Alexei's growing resentment drove him away from his brother until eventually he left Peter alone. After this, Peter was recruited by Niles Cable, a mysterious traveler from the future, to join the X-Patrol. In their first appearance in X-Patrol number 1, Ferroman and his metamutant teammates became involved in the siege of Latkovia against Dr. Doomsday, a combination of Dr. Doom and Doomsday, which already sounds like Bad News Bears. He has all the powers of Colossus but can change into this form at will like FIREBIRD. And at 8, Harold Stark. Harold Stark is a combination of Iron Man and Green Lantern, and was introduced in Iron Lantern number 1 in 1997. While making modifications to a stationary flight simulator, suddenly the simulator took off with Hal still inside. It seemed to be drawn to a crashed alien spaceship, but the simulator quickly lost power and crashed as well, but only yards from that spaceship. The crash left Hal in bad shape, with jagged metal piercing his chest, but nevertheless he made his way to that spaceship. That's resilience, where he found the corpse of an alien. In an effort to keep himself alive though, Hal used the alien technology in the ship to make a suit powered by the alien battery inside, which Hal noted looked remarkably like a lantern. Wearing this armor, Hal fought off the aliens who had shot down Romancer's ship, but was also seen by others, being called the Iron Lantern by the media. The suit of armor not only allowed him to survive, but gave him incredible powers, allowing him to create any object he pleased out of green energy, due to the battery he used being powered by the living planet. Iron Lantern has the technical and genius level intellect of Tony Stark, but has all the powers of Green Lantern, which is pretty damn cool. And at 7, Dinah Prince. Dinah Prince, also known as Dinah of Themyscira, was first introduced in Bullets and Bracelets number 1 and is a combination of Wonder Woman and Elektra. While still young, Dinah left Themyscira to explore man's world, leaving behind her family and her adopted sister Ororo. On her travels, she worked for the King of Wakanda, who gifted her adamantium bracelets. However, she later left to set up her own freelancing business in the US. There she met Trevor Castle and the two got married. At least, they were married until their infant son Ryan was mysteriously killed, and the emotional toll was too much. Both of them blamed themselves for not being able to save their son. They seemed to never plan on meeting again. However, Monarch brought the two together again and pitted them against Thanos, a combination of Thanos and Darkseid. Yeah, he had perceived the Lord of Apocalypse was responsible for the fate of their son, but she discovered that Ryan was not dead, merely displaced in time, and had grown up to become Kanto. Knowing that their son was still alive, Dinah and Trevor seemed to restart their relationship. Dinah has the divine empowerment from Wonder Woman, giving her superhuman strength and durability, as well as a mastery over archery and hand-to-hand combat. And at 6, Logan Wayne. Logan Wayne is a combination of, obviously, Bruce Wayne and Logan, being first introduced in Marvel vs. DC number 3, the same issue where this universe was created. At 5 years old, after witnessing his parents' murder at the hands of an armed robber, Logan Wayne was sent to live with his uncle in Alberta, Canada. His uncle was a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and was ambushed and murdered by poachers a short time after his arrival in Canada. After the death of his uncle, Logan was sent to live in a home run by nuns, and as soon as he was old enough, he enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Forces. Logan was submitted to the Weapon X project, the Canadian Super Soldier program. It was here that Logan had adamantium bonded to his bones and learned of his metamutant nature. The Weapon X project was terminated due to his failure, because Logan was ineffective as a weapon because he had a conscience. But this didn't stop him from being pretty damn badass. Having all the powers of Logan, as well as things like the Clawcopter and Clawmobile, this is in essence a superpowered Batman, which I think we all know is something to fear. Halfway through and at number 5, Robert Bruce Banner. Robert Bruce Banner is the combination of Bruce Banner and understandably Solomon Grundy, and was first introduced in Doctor Strangefate number 1 as one of his aides. Bruce Banner was a scientist experimenting with radiation, when an experiment he was working on went horribly wrong. However, it fused him with the elemental entity known as Solomon Grundy. The fusion between Banner and Grundy became only known as the Skulk, and after a confrontation with Doctor Strangefate, the Doc showed Skulk that he could keep him in his human form with use of magic. So in an effort to stay human, or at least be able to become human again, Skulk agreed to work as an agent for Doctor Strangefate in return for the Doc keeping him in his human form, for most of the time. Skulk possesses all the powers and abilities of both Solomon Grundy and Hulk, and thanks to Doctor Strangefate, Banner can shapeshift between his human form and his Skulk form at will, and since he possessed the same powers as Grundy, when he dies, he's reborn. But that's not even the craziest thing in this universe. And at 4, Blaze Allen. Speed Demon, first introduced in Speed Demon number 1, is, aside from what you might have called your ex to your girlfriends, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Blaze Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. Yes, there are actually multiple Speed Demons. The demon component, Etrigan, was also formerly Jay Garrick, before the Night Spectre stole Jay's soul. You know, Jay Garrick. Earth 2 Flash. The Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve in his mission to collect souls from the most pure and most corrupt, which just seems weird to me, but okay, you do you. But Blaze Allen refused, so in an attempt to persuade him, at his wedding Night Spectre stole Iris's soul. Blaze then accepted the bond, hoping to get Iris back, or at least ensure her safety. It didn't work. Speed Demon speaks only in rhymes, but is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe fire. Wally West, an amalgamation of Danny Ketch and obviously Wally West, was the next Speed Demon, who accepted the power in order to help his uncle Blaze get Iris back. It's funny, because in a couple of days I'm going on vacation and I'm making it my mission to try to convince at least one person to sell me their soul. Like, it's not actually gonna work, but I think it's gonna be funny if I can do it. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, White Witch. First appearing in Doctor Strange Fate number 1 from 1996, White Witch is a combination of Scarlet Witch and Zatanna. White Witch's origin is not completely known, but when she was introduced, she was acting as one of Doctor Strange Fate's aides. Fearing that access would divide the Amalgam universe back into its original 2 universes, Doctor Strange Fate decides to capture and exterminate him, so he has Mix mystically teleport his 3 agents into his sanctum, known as Arkham Tower. Strange Fate proceeded to explain to the 3 that Access was a greater threat than any of their previous foes, including Mephisatanus or Baron Wotan. Access managed to escape Skulk and Jade Nova by teleporting, but White Witch approached him from behind, pushed him to the ground, climbed on top of him, and with a kiss, he was knocked out. Then White Witch said that you shouldn't send a girl or a monster to do a woman's job. White Witch has all the powers of both Scarlet Witch and Zatanna, making it obvious why Doctor Strange Fate would want her as his aide. That's insane. And it can only be topped by 2 people. Penultimately in at number 2, Clark Kent. Super Soldier is fairly evidently the combination of Clark Kent and Steve Rogers, first being introduced in Marvel vs. DC number 3 from 1996. During World War II, government scientists were working on a super soldier formula that would transform a man into much more, into some sort of human weapon using cellular samples from an alien corpse. Clark Kent volunteers for the Super Soldier program and they administer the formula, as well as a good chunk of solar radiation. This mixture gave Kent incredible abilities, including all those of Captain America and Superman. Super strength, heat vision, flight, you name it. Now known as Super Soldier, Kent wields the Superman logo as his shield. In March of 1942, Super Soldier fought Ultra Metallo, a robot sent by Lex Luthor to aid Germany in winning the war by killing Clark. But the fight started in Washington, DC and ended above the northern Atlantic Ocean, when Clark sacrificed himself to take down the robot, sinking them both into the icy depths. Jimmy Olsen was one of the few witnesses and instead reported that Super Soldier had retired after America had declared that they won the war. 50 years later, the body was thawed out in JLA number 4 and Clark joined the Judgment League Avengers as its leader. Finally, in at number 1, Doctor Strange Fate. Doctor Strange Fate is one of the most powerful beings on Earth 9602, being a combination of not only Doctor Strange and Dr. Fate, but Charles Xavier as well. While traveling through the Himalayas, Metamutant Charles Xavier was rescued by Nabu the Ancient One, who at the time was Lord Supreme of Order, which is a pretty damn impressive sounding title to say the least. Taught the mysteries of the supernatural world by Nabu, Charles taps into the energies and forces of both telepathic and mystical, making the Metamutant Sorcerer one of the most powerful beings in the Amalgam universe. Since he was already a powerful telepath, Charles quickly surpasses his teacher and was promoted to the new Lord Supreme of Order. Doctor Strange Fate was also one of the founding members of the Judgment League Avengers, and began pursuing threats in shadowy realms, leaving the protection of Earth to, you know, lesser beings.
Number 10, Hot Rocks. Hot Rocks comes to us from Marvel's amalgamated superhero world known as Warp World, from Infinity Warp. Infinity Wars? Infinity Wars, I think, or Infinity War. So many wars happen in Infinities. This is true in Marvel. This world was created by Gamora, who using the Infinity Stones folded the universe in half, purging the souls of its superpowered community. One of the awesome mashups we got from Warp World was Hot Rocks, a combination of Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, and Benjamin Grimm, aka the Fantastic Four's The Thing. Hot Rocks appears to have powers that paid tribute to his namesake. He was made of rocks, and he could get hot. Benjamin Storm, as he was known, was the brother of Reed Storm. Together, these two made up the superheroic duo known as the Terrific Two.
Number 9, Iron Lantern. From the Amalgam comic universe, Iron Lantern is of course a millionaire who is in charge of Stark Aircraft. While he was working on a flight simulator, it straight up took off and flew him somewhere. Quite the simulator that is, not too shabby. Stark crash landing on the ground, injuring Stark. He realizes he was brought to a crashed alien spaceship. The spaceship belonging to none other than Roman Sir, who died before getting a chance to talk to Hal Stark. Not being in the best condition after the rocky landing, Hal started working with newfound tech on a new suit. This Green Lantern upgrade of a suit saved his life for sure, but it also gave him the power to create anything out of this green energy. He used a battery that reminded him of a lantern to do so. He then went on to fight the aliens that had shot down Roman Sir and continued fighting enemies such as Madame Sapphire and Mandarin Estro.
Number 8. Deadeye. Deadeye is from the Amalgam Comics universe. Yeah, I'm not just going to abandon Amalgam, but I cannot deny that there are lots of mashup worlds out there that deserve to be explored in addition to Amalgam. Deadeye is a combination of Deadshot from DC and Bullseye from Marvel, both of which are known for being villains, and also known for being great shots. Deadeye is the one responsible for shooting out Dare the Terminator's eye, and was killed in the Amalgam universe by the assassin Cat's Eye, aka Elektra Kyle. Previous to this, he attempted to team up with fellow villainous assassins Lethal and Wired, working for the big boss known as Big Question, in an attempt to get revenge on their mutual enemies, of which Cat's Eye was one. Unfortunately, she got the jump on him before he could take her out.
Number 7. Aquamariner. Making his first appearance in the Amalgam universe, starting in Challengers of the Fantastic, Aquamariner, aka Arthur Mackenzie, is able to breathe in and out of water, of course, but he also has wings on his ankles that allow him to fly. Yeah, and you thought having Heelys was cool? Get out of here. Wings? You'd never be late, not once. And if that wasn't cool enough, he's also great at handling his grappling trident. From Marine Mystery number 1, we find Prince Namor as the lone survivor of the underwater city of Poseidonus. And after the loss of his wife and son, Arthur Mackenzie went to Surface World, where he would protect the oceans from further harm. And with the coral reefs disappearing more and more every minute, that would be a pretty good time for Arthur Mackenzie to pop out in our world, I would say.
Number 6. Diamond Patch. Diamond Patch is the amalgamation of Emma Frost and Wolverine, and as such comes to us from Marvel's Warp World. He boasts of strong diamond claws instead of adamantium coated ones, and often wears white like the mutant White Queen Emma Frost. He also sports an eye patch, his look seemingly also inspired by Wolverine's undercover identity during his time in Madripoor, Patch. No one would have ever guessed that it was secretly Wolverine. Looks just like him. Hence the codename Diamond Patch. Diamond Patch is also known for being a powerful telepath as well as for his business acumen.
Number 5. ARACHKNIGHT. You find some pretty awesome things in Warp Worlds. ARACHKNIGHT is among one of my favorites. And as you may have guessed by now, ARACHKNIGHT is the amalgamation of Spider-Man and Moon Knight. Pretty badass. Making his first appearance in Infinity Wars number 3, Peter was actually the successful owner and operator of Parker Industries, with his side gig being the vigilante ARACHKNIGHT. His best friend at the time being Harry Russell. You can probably see where I'm going here. Harry's father was none other than Norman Russell, aka the Goblin by Night, brought on by a curse that turns him into a bloodthirsty monster. Wow, sounds like quite the handful there. One night, Peter got a glimpse of this happening and followed Norman to Central Park, and you guessed it, he of course kicked his ass.
Number 4. Big Question. Big Question comes to us from the Amalgam universe. He's a combination of DC's Riddler, aka Edward Nygma, and Marvel's Kingpin, aka Wilson Fisk. Hence his name, Edward Enigma Fisk. Big Question appeared as a villain in both the Assassins and the Dare the Terminator comics out of Amalgam. He was a corrupt politician whose office sat near the top of Arkham Tower in New Gotham City, just below Dr. Strangefate's residence. Big Question is the enemy of Dare the Terminator in the Amalgam universe and attempts to rule New Gotham City with an iron fist, though he is eventually taken down by Cat's Eye and the Gotham Bugle.
Number 3. Dr. Doomsday. From the Amalgam universe, Dr. Doomsday is rather terrifying. So Victor Von Doom would often experiment with cosmic ray shielding, right? He would set up camp on Earth in a safe base. Meanwhile, the future challengers of the Fantastic Four monitored the progress from a space shuttle. Now, of course, not being the coolest guy ever, Victor Von Doom deactivated the shielding on this ship and took off when it crash landed. So Doom was curious about Doomsday. A lot of Doom in this one, eh? One day during an examination, one of Doomsday's bone fragments shot out into Victor Von Doom's face. Oopsie daisies. So the DNA started to make its way in and gave us the lovely Dr. Doomsday, who is actually responsible for American Girl's death. I like the look of this guy a lot. He just looks like he's on skis, the green hood, spiked face, just looks like the definition of trouble.
cool. Number 2, Moon Squirrel. Moon Squirrel also comes to us from Warp World. She is by far the cutest and coolest Warp World hero, in my humble opinion. Moon Squirrel is Lunine Laugh-A-Green. Like Moon Girl, she is recognized as being one of the smartest people on the planet with a genius level intellect, especially when it comes to tech and inventions. When young Lunine befriended a giant squirrel who had undergone pterogenesis, so I guess an inhuman squirrel, her life was changed forever. She adopted the mantle Moon Squirrel, taking inspiration from a name her classmates referred to her by, Moon Girl, and became a hero. She's a combination of Marvel heroes Moon Girl, aka Lunella Lafayette, and Squirrel Girl, aka Doreen Green.
And finally, number 1, Soldier Supreme. Okay, for this last one, I would pay a stupid amount of money to see this in the theater. Soldier Supreme makes his debut in, you guessed it, Warp World. So of course he has the combined powers of Captain America and Doctor Strange, which you probably guessed at this point, which already makes him one of the most badass dudes ever. Also appearing in Infinity Wars issue 3, weak and small Steven Rogers volunteered in a US military experiment to become a super soldier. Sounds familiar so far? Right on. The serum, however, was just a cover for mystic rituals. Spooky wookie. So he got some pretty amazing powers from it, leading the Howling Commandos of Hogarth alongside Dum Dum Fury and Bucky Wong.
Number 10, Super Soldier. Clark Kent of the Amalgam Universe is a combination of Superman and Captain America and has a very similar origin story to good old Steven Rogers, as he was injected with the Super Soldier formula during World War II. However, there is a little fun twist thrown in there as he was also subjected to solar radiation. Now this fun mix of chemicals and light gave Clark all the powers of not only Captain America, but also Superman for some reason, so that means he can fly, is super strong and fast, has heat vision, and just, you know, a whole mess more. By March of 1942, Super Soldier had pretty much single-handedly won the war until Ultra Metallo, a giant robot sent by Lex Luthor, appeared on the scene. True to his Captain America half, he sacrificed himself to take down the giant robot, and the two were submerged in icy waters. And then 50 years later, Clark's body was discovered by the Judgment League Avengers, and after it was thawed out, he became their de facto leader. Now it wasn't too much long after that he discovered Lex Luthor was still alive and well, and he had partnered with Hydra and revived Metallo, but Clark was able to easily take them both down.
Number 9, Spider-Boy. Spider-Boy popped up in his own Amalgam one-shot, but also got a team-up issue as well following that. In his team-up issue, we saw him joined by the Legion of Galactic Guardians 2099. That team is a huge combination of DC's Legion of Superheroes and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, in addition to their 2099 timeline. So, that was a pretty big team up. Spider-Boy himself is a combo of Spider-Man and Superboy. In the Amalgam universe, he was the attempted clone of Super Soldier created by Project Cadmus. But the cloning process went slightly wrong, and instead, the clone that would become Spider-Boy awoke prematurely, becoming conscious at a younger age than Cadmus had initially expected.
Number 8, Speed Demon. Now Blaze Allen, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze, was once a stunt worker working at a carnival, and he became the Speed Demon following the death of his wife at the hands of the evil knight Spectre. He was convinced by Merlin to bond with the demon known as Etrigan, and from there the entity known as Speed Demon was born. Granted the abilities of Ghost Rider, including his fiery powers as well as his super strength, Speed Demon is not actually all that fast despite his name and lineage because, you know, he's also the Flash. While the character is a formidable fighter and an all-around powerful being, he falls very short in the speed department, especially compared to other speedsters. Now there have been other characters who have taken up this mantle, including both Jay Garrick and Wallace West. However, all of their powers seem to be similar in origin, and they're all just as slow.
Number 7, Dr. Strangefate. Strangefate is the combination of both the big twos of mystical heroes, Dr. Fate from DC and Doctor Strange from Marvel, though weirdly enough his true name happens to be Charles Xavier. Strangefate was one of the few to survive the destruction of the Amalgam universe when threatened by a character known as Access. He hid himself deep within Doctor Strange's mind in order to live on, and after influencing Doctor Strange ended up back in the Amalgam universe, which Doctor Strange preserved and kept safe in a pocket dimension, mostly to contain the irksome Dr. Strangefate.
Number 6, NIGHTCREEPER. Born a metahuman, Kurt Ryder, a combination of Nightcrawler and Creeper, has a pretty vague past up until his time as an acrobat in the circus. He worked there for a while until he was kicked out for looking and smelling too freakish, and for a while he had nowhere to go. Fast forward a little bit, we see Kurt join the New Blood alongside a bunch of other amazing combinations of heroes and mutants, and eventually this team turned into the Justice League X-Men with Kurt as a founding member. Generally just used as comic relief, this character didn't really have many serious stories until he had to get real for a second with Angel Hawk, as both of them had fallen in love with a team member and it was causing some serious problems for everyone. Skip ahead once again to the Armageddon agenda and we see NIGHTCREEPER end up in jail alongside many other meta mutants, held there by none other than the JLA.
Number 5. Dare the Terminator. Dare is the combination of Daredevil and Deathstroke, but female. Also, not going to lie, I just kinda love the idea of a female Daredevil. I just think the design of Dare is so cool. She is blind, but she wears an eye patch as one of her eyes was shot out by DEADEYE, who himself is a combination of DC's Deadshot and Marvel's Bullseye. So pretty villainous all around. Dare's real name is Slade Murdoch, and she first appeared in the Amalgam comic Assassins.
Number 4. Moonwing. Before becoming Moonwing, a combination of Moon Knight and Nightwing, Dick Grayson was an acrobat in a local circus until he was forced to leave due to his rather aggressive split personality known as Mark Spectre. This scared a lot of people away from him, but not Bruce Wayne, a man who saw nothing but potential in the young boy who brought him in as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now known as Moonwing, Dick had an outlet for his aggressive side, and this actually helped him reconcile with this part of him, and he was able to live a rather normal life from there on out. While Dick went to college, his protege Jason Todd took up the mantle for a while. However, he was killed on a mission, and Dick donned the costume once more because he felt really guilty about Jason's death. Now unknown to him, Jason's body was recovered by Hydra, who grafted cybernetic body parts onto Jason and brought him back to life as Deathlock. Deathlock then ambushed Moonwing while he was on a mission for S.H.I.E.L.D. and tried to kill his former mentor, who he blamed for his new robotic body. Moonwing was then forced to battle Deathlock, resulting in Jason's death, for real this time, at his own hands.
Number 3. Bruce Wayne. Colonel Bruce Wayne, that is. And don't you forget it. Bruce Wayne is not actually Batman here. He's combined with another hero from the Marvel Universe who also prefers to go by his name alone. Yep. Nick Fury. Bruce Wayne of Amalgam is also dating another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent known as Black Bat, a combination of Felicia Hardy and Barbara Gordon, which, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like an amazing combination. Bruce Wayne first appeared in the Amalgam comic Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., where we learned that he is out for revenge. When he was young, his spy parents were killed by Green Skull of Hydra, and he used his money and influence to take over S.H.I.E.L.D. so that he can use the resources of the organization to get revenge.
Number 2. Darkclaw. Now speaking of Bruce Wayne, let's talk about Darkclaw, a combination of Batman and Wolverine named Logan Wayne. With a similar backstory to Batman, Wayne witnesses his parents' murder at a very young age and was then sent off to live with his uncle in Alberta. However, this also didn't last very long because his uncle was also murdered and Wayne was sent to live in a home run by nuns. When he was finally old enough, he left them and enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force alongside a man named Creed H. Quinn, and the two of them were then subjected to the Weapon X program, aka the Canadian Super Soldier program. It was there that the Wolverine half of this character came to be, as it was here he learned of his metamutant powers, and he had his bones fused with adamantium. Quinn, however, was not so lucky because through the course of the experiments he grew more and more insane and would eventually become the Hyena, a combination of Sabretooth and the Joker, and Darkclaw's greatest enemy. Equipped with all the powers of Wolverine and the vast knowledge of Batman, Darkclaw is just an awesome character.
Number 1. Amazon. Also known as Aurora of Themyscira. That's right, this character is an amazing mashup of Storm and Wonder Woman. Let's be honest, Storm is basically a Wonder Woman, so this all makes sense to me. She has the combined powers of both Marvel's Mutant Storm and some of the elements of DC's Wonder Woman, Princess Diana of Themyscira. After her parents both perished in a storm caused by Poseidon, which sunk their boat, young Aurora herself, who was also present, almost drowned, but instead was saved by the Amazons. They rescued her, and Queen Hippolyta adopted her and raised the young girl as her own, alongside her other daughter, Princess Diana. Aurora had metahuman abilities which allowed her to control the weather, and when they manifested, her Amazonian sisters also encouraged her to use them to forge a lasso of lightning, which also compelled those ensnared by it to tell the truth. Everyone deserves a lasso of lightning. So cool!